days of live show this week, Wednesday, Thursday. Today, we got out a little bit that the great short back, very quickly back up. We kind of put stuff up. Very quickly back. They questioned, are you working Friday? That was not the way it was phrased. It was phrased, you're not working Friday, right? That's the way it was introduced. That kind of set it off. No, I'm not working. Yeah. And it does include, it has to obviously include for those that necessarily reciprocate, but it seems to have gotten a little bit lost. I'm not sure. Something. I'll answer as fast as I can. As possible. And of course, Ussery's got an interesting background history. Aquarius upset in 67. But most interesting. Controversy. Goes against the John Colorado. The first visit with John since moving to Ireland. that. And I'm the living one. He was probably that's what he wanted. But we get to Thursday because he was wrestling at the end of his career. Cody Scott, the Bobby Wrestling School. At least they're asking you to join us for about 10 minutes. We'll get thrown in first, and York will be delivered to Chambliss and wrestling. Wrestling guys. Very good thing. Talk to Dorn. I think I saw a picture. I think I saw a picture of this room. I think Drew was
good already at the age of 2. It looks like he can handle it, to be honest. We're going to talk to both Cassies as it happens. We'll talk if you were listening to me last week or after Breeders' Cup, I had mentioned that Mark and I had a conversation. Was it Friday? Leading on Friday? I think it was leading on Friday, and Breeders' Cup, and I think it would have to be. Came up. I think we were talking about the scratches and the vet, the obligations and the challenges that the veterinary staff has, and he proceeded to show me a computer program on his phone. About Europe called Sleep or Sleep, SLEIP, and simply done, you videotape the horse on the walk, coming and going. To their website, whatever the item is, and the visual, whatever the mechanics are internally, and it sends you back a report and a sort of a diagram with red, yellow, and green coding. And green, obviously, and yellow, there's a potential problem, and red, a specific problem. And it'll show by the ankle, it'll show by the, by the fetlock, by wherever it happens to be, wherever the horse is not hitting well, and hinting at this. So Mark's going to explain it to me. I got around to asking him about the cost, because I figured the cost had to be, quite a bit. And it wasn't. They're not at all. And it seems like it's something that could really help get out in front of issues. It's fascinating. To me, it was fascinating. And I'm actually I said to Mark, I said, how is this not? Why is this not getting more attention? For the equestrian world, they use it widely. So we'll hear more about it. So you get 2 for 1, like certs. It's two Cassies in 1. Norman first, Mark later. I told you John Parada and Tony Black, John White. That this performance from the Nyquist, that Nysos, that Baffert had in the Bob Hope yesterday. And in fact, let me go back and check. I'm curious. It was early, this morning. There was no fig yet, which is not surprising. Mark Hopkins these days does that was Simmons. Visually, they passed the eye test. the old eye test. There was a ton of that stake-wise. Friday, Saturday, Sunday in New York. That carryover that we touched on with Nick Tamero Friday. If you're listening to the replay just now, actually. On Friday, and I had a racetrack, but when I looked at it, this is ugly as a proposition to hit the pick six. So sure enough, double pick six carryover into Saturday, and from there, it actually turned out. It's one of the real tricks when it comes to pick sixes. That's one of the real battles when you especially a double carry when you think, if things are up in the air, they really weren't. And there was a point I thought I was in decent shape. I was kind of. And Dancing with the Stars, who has always been a nice enough type. And in fact, the horse thing, for those of you that play along during the summer, Saratoga, when I'm doing the Apollo Chevrolet, Dancing with the Stars, I year. Maybe and not a big winner per se, but a horse that turns in nice performances. And he's had a couple of months in the Vetro barn, and he felt to me like if he. Exactly what you got. I ended up singling him, so I thought, this is very. I thought this was pretty auspicious, but it kind of went sideways. Whiskey Sue too in the maiden breaker, that made sense, but then came the 9th and the 10th, and that was it. George Duarte, who we may talk to. Dylan Davis. how about that? They repeated in that turf championship, same exact way. Went to the front, wire to wire, exact same way as last year. And the Kirby, how about the Kirby horse that came up from Maryland? Boats are rocking. Ran very well to be second and lit the board up 44-1 to be second. Like Duke was really didn't put in his rally. Allergon, the Ned Allard really didn't, kind of meekly rallied. And it's not like nothing better didn't set a real pace. So anyway, that was it. No concert for you. You're a bad man. Pridefoot. Veteran again. Yeah. And Pridefoot could have won. He was one of the ones. But I tried Spun Special at a price, and Icy Reply. She's awesome. Shaman Princess. No good. So $5. 31. In fact, Andy put up I don't know if you saw this. Andy put up the parlay. I think the parlay was just about a little bit more than half, 2,300, 2,400. So this was eminently hittable, and that came back pretty good. We'll get to some of the other breakers, and so let me, and Friday too, a couple of performances, but I'll put this aside so we can get Norm Cassie in here and get the morning started. There's also news as we go to Kentucky. Saw this morning, and I sent him a take the mic at Turf Park. Yeah. Starts Wednesday, not this Wednesday, next Wednesday, and coincides perfectly with his assignment at Finger Lakes. He's been there 15 years, which it seems impossible that he's been there 15 years. I was kind of shocked that it's that long. Anyway, Tony Carlo, who I think calls a great race. He would be he's a nice addition. Jimmy continues as a jock agent. Ellis. So, yeah, Tony Carlo. If you didn't see that. Tony's asking me a question, so that's why I'm slow to react here. All right, let me. Norm Cassie will be first or next, however you want to characterize it, and looking forward to congratulating Norm on another stake win. He joins us now. He's been like a deadly assassin all year long. When he sends him over, he's taking no prisoners. Norm Cassie, congratulations. owes the Cassie family has a history of everybody pitching in and taking on responsibilities. I'm just surprised the crew is grooming horses at such a young age.
You got to start somewhere, don't you? Feel like, no, honestly, we feel like with my two sons that they will have the ability to, be.
I saw him. With the smock on. And I thought, well, it won't be long now.
I thought that was a hilarious picture. That will definitely be a framer. It'll be up at the house for a long time.
I love it. How is the baby?
Everybody's doing really well. It's an exciting time. It's the holidays are around. Everybody's getting excited about that. Thought that was
exciting, getting to be a transitional time around the racetrack, as well as things get ready to, you can see the end in sight at Churchill's and the winter months ahead. We'll talk about that after we talk about Hot and Sultry coming back in here, wire to wire, and as Jay Goodman famously
Yeah, no, I have issues that we had to clean up after Derby City just staff. She obviously had some time and bit of freshman. When she came back from the farm, Becky Maker's farm, it was pretty apparent that she was even as good as she was in the spring. She was even better. She was working extremely well. This was not, just full disclosure, it was not the race that we wanted to run in. We were shooting for the launch race. Just especially a filly like her who's so aggressive, so that was not the plan. And unfortunately, it's one of those deals where sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, and we were forced to be in there on Saturday. And I think if you go back and look at her form from the rest of the year, Saturday's race was a little bit of class relief, to be honest. She's been running against some of the best on Saturday night.
Well, and what's interesting is the versatility, because she had when Steve Asmussen had this filly, she's a Speedster, was a pricey Speedster at Keeneland September 20. She's 4 years old, and Civilly belongs for Alex and Joanne, and had won a couple of times early on in the career. With you, she tried it, was going 2 turns in the Apple Blossom. Talk about that aspect. And of course, Ricardo Santana Jr. had actually ridden her in her maiden breaker.
Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think she's extremely versatile filly. I still don't know if we know exactly what she's best at. She's obviously fast enough to be a sprinter. Differently for her, 2-turn races. She literally got beat by some of the best fillies that were running last year at a route of the road anyway. So it's hard for us to kind of pinpoint what we're going to do next. We're going to let her dictate what's going on. Personally, I think the thing that's most encouraging, and I don't think you necessarily saw it on Saturday night, is I do feel like she is, because so a good thing all the time. We just took advantage of the way that the race kind of played out. I thought Ricardo rode the horse brilliantly. She obviously set fast fraction, but I feel like if you're going to do that on the turn, instead of waiting and kind of letting everybody else catch up to you when you already have been given a head start, you kind of kick away even more. And he allowed her to do that on the far turn. And
Well, she'd been away since May. That's another aspect of this that that folds in. And in retrospect, the one-turn mile. Probably a nice hybrid scenario for her. Had won at the configuration at Churchill when she won that allowance. Off of the as a 3-year-old, breaks the maiden in January, comes back 6 months later, and wins her one-turn miles off that same kind of layoff. That's I hadn't really noticed that until now.
I think at the end of the day, Steve, it's just that she's super talented. I think that she can do things that most horses. She kind of defies conventional wisdom, I guess is the best way. This was not what I planned. That's kind of using your knowledge from 99% of the horses that you typically train. It doesn't work. Well, it works with a horse like Hot and Sultry just because she is immensely talented. So you kind of got to throw the rule book out with her. Problem is, and I agree with you. I think 7/8 to a one-turn mile is probably her ideal. Especially with her, I think realistically she goes to Oakland. That's where the Lee Bonds like to be put based, and that's why they actually ended up sending me horses to begin with because I started going to Oakland. I just feel like that filly and mare distaff division is probably wide open right now. A lot of the good ones retired, and maybe she can take advantage of it.
It's perfect. This is actually a mare in 5 weeks, and you got whatever option you want. If you're going to go down the apple blossom route again, or if the sprinting is the thing, so be it.
Yeah, no, we got options, and we're going to let her dictate. But right now we're just super excited to have her back. That she come back well, but she came back from
Sultry Speedster. She's out of the Medallion d'Oro mare, Hot Water, and who herself, I believe, was a stakes mare that rings a bell somewhat. I'll be checking on that here presently, as we say, Hot Water. There she is. Is confirmed as we use the fabulous American. The dam of High Beach, one of the early ones. She had Tracksmith going back a few years, the Street Sense. Tortuga and Scalding. This has been a very productive mare.
She's a very, very good mare.
Yeah. Out of elusive heat herself, and this is now, which explains a few things because as there had to be, 402-year-olds. So very nice. While we've got
I think, Steve, I think you got to give credit where credit's due. Alex and Bo Hunt pick out some of the nicest and fastest horses I've ever been around. And so, they go out and pick out their own horses. Bo Hunt helps Alex do it. And and probably and she looks like a racehorse. So I think that has a lot more to do with it. Obviously, the mare is great. Hot and Sultry in her own right is just an honest horse. I just feel like it's so nice to lead a filly over there knowing she's going to run for you, because sometimes they can be flighty or whatever, and if things don't go their way, they don't necessarily run the way you expect them to. But with you know she's gonna perform for you. And
I mentioned elusive heat. Of course, this is, you go back 3 dams and there's extra heat herself. So there's, this is a grade 3. So this is a big win. She's already grade 1 placed, of course, from the Apple Blossom, and she continues to enhance her value. Nicely done, Norm Cassie. Let's touch. Really, your earnings mark. It's your best year. Now, what, 5 years into the training career, and you have the most wins, 43 wins on the year. So every win is going to be a new mark. Talk a little bit about the year and how you're positioned, heading into 24.
Selective is the best way to describe it. I still just honest. It's not like as long as we've been doing it, it's not like we've been generating a ton of new business. So it's not like I have like an arsenal of horses at my disposal or whatever. We're still sitting at about 45, 50 horses at a time, which is a good number. I'm certainly not anything to laugh at or whatever, but it just, not necessarily generating the business that we would have. Feel very confident in what we do with the horses, and when we do lead a horse over, we know the horse is primed to run a big race. And I really feel like the difference between being a 12-15% trainer to a 20-22% trainer is spotting the horses and trying to figure out where the horses belong, maybe 1 or 2 races before the next guy does. And we've fairgrounds again, just like we did last year. Really like that system. Some of the horses that can't miss much training in case the weather's bad. Those horses go to the fairgrounds, and then the horses that are just basically primed and ready to run, they go to Oakland. If we have a couple bad days of winter weather, it's okay. But hopefully going forward, we'll get some more clients, get some new horses. We're really proud of it. Just want to continue to support them as much as we possibly can.
Well, you mentioned the placements, and I saw Johnny's Fireball ran the other day as well, and was that Saturday second? I mean, always seems to be acquitting himself well, and you're taking advantage of allowance spots with him. I mean, accruing earnings has made almost $200,000.
Like Johnny Fireball is probably one of my favorite things that we did this year. So we claimed him for 50. He was eligible for a 2X. We came back at Ellis. Instead of running him in the 2X, for the 2X condition, we rated him for the claiming price, stuck him in, won that race. Because he was in for the claiming price, he's still eligible for the allowance condition next time. He comes back. Especially with the claimers, I just feel like we're really diligent. It's a lot more to do with the way that we spot the horses than anything else. Just really feel like we've kind of got a good handle on those type of horses.
Yeah, I mean, I could bring up others, including the horse that we absolutely crushed with at Saratoga. I know that got claimed, right? Bear Oak.
Yeah, and Bear Oak's a perfect example too. Like here. But we put it in for a high price, claimed it, $100,000. Justin Nicholson, who I'll give him a ton of credit, he's the one who picks out the claiming horses for us. He's very, very smart, very diligent. He's got a good handle on the horses and where they belong. And if we need to make a surface switch or whatever, he claimed the horse for 50. Turn around, how many races did we win in? 4. money, especially with the claimant horses, and I think we've kind of proven that.
Well, from claiming horses, and of course, Bear Oak on Travers Day was a bonanza for players, and then we go to the maiden, the high-priced maiden opportunities in Kentucky. You've had a few interesting ones that we'd like to catch up on.
Doing really well. She's in on Saturday. Got a perfect position. It's a good allowance race. Brad's got two really nice fillies in there as well for good connections. But I feel like Webster's doing extremely well. Her first race was just a complete blowout. She got left at the gate and ran real spotty, ran up on heels and things like that. Just had a terrible trip. I feel like the race where she broke her main's definitely capable. Going forward, that's what she's going to do best. But we'll take this winter allowance race with her, and we'll go forward from here. But I'm excited to see her run on Saturday because she's really worked well since she broke her main.
Well, and this is a hard-spun filly that came out of Timonium, right? Yeah, 185. Out of a Malibu Moon there, and the necessary step forward. And once again, you're not throwing her into the Pocahontas or trying to win those right away.
No, I have too many friends that I respect that will not allow me to do things like that, including my wife.
There you go. Yeah, so that's true. There's advantages of being of having nothing but racetrack family members, and then there's a few sidebars that are a little bit more difficult to manage. Pretty funny. I should catch up. We should catch up actually on Rhyme Schemes too. Who unfortunately you had to back off.
Extremely well at the farm. He should be back. He's going to be hard pressed to make the classics. I'm sure that's what everybody's most interested in, but that's okay. I feel like he still has the potential to be a superstar. The prognosis for everything is very, very good and excellent, and obviously his performance on the racetrack speaks. And then we'll have a lot of
wish that news was more, more positive in terms of timing as a 3-year-old. I tell you, we can talk about a colt though for the lead longs that might be operating a little bit under the radar. What's next for No Fight?
No Fight had some issues that had to be cleaned up as well, and I really think, as well. We can make light of these things because that's just the way it is, and I don't think people appreciate it that much that are on the outside. As good as the year's been, we've had a lot of setbacks. So, I have so many nice horses that are now on the shelf that are coming back next spring that are super talented. Rhyme Schemes, Low Fight, Empire Island, those type of horses that probably could have made ultimately they probably would have done the right things in hopes of bringing them back and performing at a higher level because we took care of them and they reward us for us, kind of like I did with Hot Sultry. So they'll be back in the spring. No Fight, I think, if he comes back the right way, could end up being the best horse I have. So he always kind of promoted himself that way. He just she's come back really strong for us.
This is a notable family. The dam, it's funny, the dam pretty much has an empty page. However, the dam was herself out of Wandesta, who was a fabulous jugmont mare that fits my bill as a horse the time forgot. Wandesta was really good for Bobby Frankel. And she's the second dam. I'm looking at belongs that in September, and let's put that on the list off of Norm's suggestion. How about the big filly? How about Southfield?
Actually, Robert sold her at Keelan. He got $600,000 for her. I'm not exactly sure who ended up with her. She was completely. Good luck.
Interesting. All right. 600. It just shows you what it was like for those first couple of days when 600,000 doesn't really make the headlines, right?
No. I didn't even read an article.
No, I didn't see. That was way underneath the radar. Okay, one more that I want to catch. They're always smiling, no matter what the outcomes. And then they back last weekend, and you know where I'm headed. This is a Munnings filly, Loveland, who showed promise in the debut, and then what happened last week?
I think, full transparency, she bled really badly, so we just sent her to Haggards to save her in the hyperbaric chamber. She'll come back fine. I think that's all it was. As well, everything we can to make sure she comes better. I think probably if I could do things over with, maybe I would have given her one more split before I turned around and made her route. Because she was just so aggressive, and maybe we could have done some things differently to get her to settle a little more. And she had never bled before, so I just feel like that was part of the problem. But I think she's a
two-year-old that people haven't seen yet?
Honestly, you've pretty much seen everybody that I have. I do have a Bernardini colt. His name's Pattis Good Boy for Mr. Lebon. I like him a lot. He probably won't start until Oakland starts. But other than that, it's pretty much what you see is what you get.
Ask about
The rest of the winter off. So he'll be another one that's on the radar for the spring when we come. I'm really excited about the spring, Steve, because I do have a lot of nice horses that we're giving time off to that will be coming back, stakes caliber horses. So right now it seems bleak, but things are only improving every day.
Can't be bleak when you win the great. It's got the two fabulous kids and the nicest wife anywhere. Norm, well done. Happy Thanksgiving. What's the Thanksgiving plan? Is John Nichols having everybody over?
No, actually, my mom's family all lives in Pensacola, Florida. They always come up. We do this. We'll just spend the entire week hanging out with them, and it's really nice. And we're very, very thankful for our family and definitely our beautiful kids.
Norm, Cassie, everybody, as I mentioned, you're probably not aware, it's a Cassie morning because Mark Cassie joins us at 10:30 as well today.
Well, make sure you ask him what it's like to beat me when he has a head start, because that's about the only way
everybody. It's so much fun, and Zeila's had a fabulous, fabulous year. We're going to reach to Ireland. You ready for this? Our first conversation with John. I've been texting him and emailing back and forth, but our first conversation with John Pilata, who now is a threatening. He was threatening for ages to move to Ireland, and then he went ahead and did it. John, good morning.
Hey, Steve. Happy birthday.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
And many more, my friend.
I appreciate it. The 64, it's one of those. A major milestone, but my entire life growing up, 65, and then as it's gotten closer, they moved the goalposts. Now you work till 75.
Yeah. 65 is just a kid.
It's I guess from a certain vantage point. I shouldn't have waited this long, and there's always reasons to talk to you. The life in Ireland. I didn't get a chance to see you when you came home for Aiden's birthday wedding. So let's get those pleasantries out, and then we'll talk about Bobby Essery.
Well, I moved to Ireland. I wish I'd done it 10 years ago. It's wonderful. We found a place to live in the Shannon, as it's called here. And it's, despite what people talk about the weather, it does rain a lot here. But we had a lovely day today. We had a lovely day yesterday, and we expect to one tomorrow. I guess, pretty similar to, New York weather, chilly at this time of year, but there's a horse sale starting at the Goffs today. There's one place that has to be on the. I used to say it was easy to know because the coins here, the old parts before we introduced the euro, the part coin, the 25-cent coin, so to speak, their quarter had a horse on it. It's so ingrained into the culture here. Everybody, the races are on every. So we don't miss that last week with one of the first Gold Cups. And, you get used to jumps here. They're very exciting. And we only run the jumps on a really soft ground. So when you see them fall, they pop right up. It's very interesting to watch. And it's a different culture, as you know. The people here are wonderful. I mean, you can understand that if you live here for a while, why the Irish have been so successful around the world. They're just very pleasant people, and they're very engaging. I think when you come, it'll be hard to control. With my wife, so like yourself. So we'll be standing in line someplace, and she'll talk to the person next to her. 15 minutes later, she knows the kids' names, where they are, where they go to school, and all that stuff. But it's we're very much enjoying it, and his wife, Ken. The week before that, a mixed sale. Then we tried to get to the race. We were fairly near a racetrack called West Common. That's a flat and hurdle track and a jump track. And then there's the car is only about 45 minutes away. And we went there for closing the last day of their season. And we could go.
The team and I've already, we've been trying to, every time there's an opening on the calendar, we've said, Ireland, can go to, she even said, she said, what about Christmas? I said, I don't think
you got to double actually, I'll post it on Twitter today. I took some pictures of it. It's on Grafton Street, it's a promenade, no car traffic. And we turned on the lights last week, and it was magnificent. It's a buzz, basically. Beautiful. We have to worry about Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving.
No, exactly.
We're doing our own, but we're not
what kind of they got all kinds of game fowl, right?
Oh yeah, but there's turkeys, plenty of turkey here. Yeah, Christmas turkey here.
Christmas turkey.
Yeah, but the turkeys, and the food's great here. I mean, you're a good mom that you are, you would just go crazy because the ingredients are very fresh. When we get by, for instance, we're supposed to be talking about horses, but I'm getting on the food thing for a second. If you go by lettuce, for example, in the grocery store here, it has the roots on it. There's dirt on the roots, so it's still alive. And everything is very flavorful. The restaurants in Ireland, they've been in touch with me, they're coming over for races and things. I had some people at the Dublin Racing Club that, they're still in touch with, and it's fun. It's good fun. It's a small country.
Everybody that I see in the ask, and they said, have you been over? I said, not yet, but we're going. I said, you should go. And I said that to Lee the other day. He goes from that's the breadth of his travel.
Right, I talked to him. You're welcome to come for Christmas. We'd love to have you.
All right,
it would be fun.
Now we'll have to. She was serious about that, and I thought, we'll have to revisit this.
There's all sorts of Christmas markets and Christmas festivals and all sorts of stuff going on.
This is. I will discuss it with her tonight. All right. Well, she won't be happy. She won't be happy about that. Let me shift gears and talk about your relationship with Bobby Essery, and it's funny, Tony Black. He's one of these guys that kind of outlived, a lot of most of his contemporaries, if not all.
Oh yeah. Bobby Essery, I got involved with him in '74. I'd been a jockey agent for about 2.5 years, and I'd had retiring. And he was a very well-known rider. But he was older and he was getting ready to retire, so I ended up with him because I was a rookie. I had Marty Froman, a few other guys, like Jersey, Pennsylvania guys who worked that circuit. But I got to Monmouth in '74. I didn't have a rider, and I showed up there, a month early. Everybody loved Mr. Kelly. He was like everybody's grandfather, so to speak. And he said to me, Esther's going to come down here, and he needs an agent. I think it's you. And I said, it was an opportunity. And Bobby showed up. I got to truth. We would later win the Breeders' Cup for John Beach. But, Bobby had a relationship with Lou Antonello, of course, from New York. And, just called me up and put him on. But that was a big one. And then maybe halfway into the meet, because Bobby was a big guy. He fought his weight all his life. And he said to me, 36 by mile. I can't do it. We wrote me a check and he said, listen, good luck, kid. And I said, hey, I went up, and basically that was the last time we rode, because I would say a week, maybe 2 weeks later, I saw him, he says, I'm up to 145. He was waiting for that moment to say, okay, because and a really nice guy. He was, an Oklahoma kind of country attitude. I never lived to have a bad word with anybody. I mean, I never heard anybody say a bad word about Bobby. He was just a nice guy. Always a smile on his face. And, he had a few notable things about him. His hand was about, I don't know, maybe 24 inches long. It was the shortest whip I ever saw. Crop, and had a handle like the size of a baseball bat. Just a handle. It was a real stiff stick. It was more like a short horse crop. But he was such a natural rider.
His alley.
He could work, Good for me. I saw him probably maybe I hadn't seen him about 2 years, I guess, before I left Florida. And he lived down in Hollywood.
He was in Hollywood. Yeah, he stayed in Hollywood.
He had a the big building.
Yeah.
I used to see him. I mean, he'd be on the boardwalk, chatting with people, and he'd go to the track and hold court. But I think his son was with him most of the time his last years, which was nice. But just a really, like I said, top guy, and we'll miss. He was. And smiling, and he's one of these guys that Tony said, I'll save it for the airwaves. Tony said he's got a couple of stories that everybody, I think, is, like you say, has got a sort of a happy recollection. And his career, I mean, as a Hall of Famer, immediately after
it's funny. That might have been in the 70s, right? But then later on, they made it so that you didn't have to be retired to get in the hall. We got tons of guys that are in the hall that are.
He got in 80. He got in 80, so he had been retired for
5 years. Yeah, 5-6 years. There you go.
6 years.
He's got a very.
Probably maybe 5 years ago. And I said, John, I think I want to do my autobiography. I said, sure. And I said, sure, Bob, yeah. And so he said, well, what should I do? And I said, well, he said, I got a lot of pictures and things. I said, well, I'm going to send you like a list of questions. And you look at those and we go from there, He said, you know what? I said, change my mind. I don't want to do it. And so we let it go. But I'm sure his son has an amazing collection of photos. He was, like a movie star personality as far as the sports world went back at that time. Everything was.
Yeah.
And he was right in the sweet spot too.
Yeah, he only rode 23.
He was big. He was thick, he was short, but wasn't a little skinny guy. He was a solid man. And I'd say, he must have weighed 160 or 70 in his later years. They got big, but the film figured always cut his crawl as dancers.
As much as he was, even more so Peter Fuller. What they did with Peter, it was criminal.
Good guy. It'll be interesting to hear what Tony has to say. I'm sure they were.
Coming to on the tail end, but we'll hear from Todd. Bobby Usher won a Queen's Plate in '59. How about that? He won the Travers in '58 on Piano Jim for Oscar White, and the Alabama in '58, the Whitney Moore twice, the Brooklyn. I've got the fabulous Davis, and I've got that presentation picture that I know I've put up from Pimlico in years past that I love from with Ussery. So I have to. This is one of those connections to the games past that 50 years. It's hard to, it's hard, right? That's why people. I was sort of stunned that there wasn't. I understood why people didn't have much to say because there's just, there wasn't as direct a connection to him.
Right. He was, like I say, he was a movie star back when, The movie.
Thank you, Mrs. Desmond. Hubby, they love that. John, this was great. I appreciate it. Perfect way
to see you at Christmas.
Yeah, maybe. John. Bobby Usry, bottom hour, the bottom of the hour break, and there we go. There we go. There's Tony. The one thing you hear me mention this every year when it comes to birthdays. Now you've got so many different. For their birthday wishes, there's spots. It'll take you. Every year I say the same thing. Thanks everybody collectively for the birthday wishes, and I'll get back to each of you soon enough. And then no matter how much you try, you never get back to everybody. But it was great to talk to John, even under these circumstances. Tony Black, we couldn't let Thanksgiving ride without Tony. We're going to hear about Chuck. Tony's mother's.
Good morning, Steve. And I was one of the first to wish you a happy birthday.
Yes, you were.
Yeah. I saw that and I said, man, I'm going to go. If I talk to him today, I'm going to make sure I do it before I talk to him. Yeah, mom's stuffing. It's the ground beef, the sausage, the chestnuts, little onion in there. And I love the chestnuts. The chestnuts just bring out the best in the stuffing. And I told her this year, I said, all right, I'll do that. But I love that stuffing she makes.
No, Thanksgiving very big on this show, and I don't know when it started. I think it probably started when I first asked. I remember asking everybody one year. I don't know what specific year I started doing it, but what's your favorite Thanksgiving thing? And you came up with the chestnut stuffing, and that.
Days after, I'll make more than we're ever going to need, because I love them better than that.
That's Tina's favorite. Tina has just my stuffing, which is my mother's. I mean, it's not mine. Tina just that more than anything, gravy and the stuffing. She'll eat that for 4 or 5 days.
That's me. I totally agree with Tina. That's
on things like Instagram and there's and TikTok and stuff, and there's the little videos of ideas and different suggestions. And I've only actually cataloged a couple and copied and pasted and printed 2 or 3 recipes, and including a make-ahead gravy. My biggest frustration when it comes to Thanksgiving is. I try to do, but I show make-ahead gravy, and I'm going to do that like tomorrow, and because I'm tired of not delivering a gravy that really works on Thursday itself. But I saw a crazy thing where, and I think she's a home chef. Uses her waffle and makes like a waffle of the stuffing and uses it sort of as the base for like a hot turkey sandwich almost. And I thought, it's right. It's not so crazy.
Sounds good. Not so crazy. Sounds good.
That's what I sent it to. I sent it to Tina. Said, "Look at this." And then she
got it crisp up. Yeah, you gotta love it. I never thought anything of the stuffing. But there's nothing better than the stuffing and the chestnuts. You cut them in half anyway when you put, but you can piece them. So they would even cook them with a waffle iron because you don't put that. You can't put whole chestnuts. But I like cutting them into quarters.
Well, it's a whole thing. It's funny you mentioned. I think you do this every year when chestnuts come up. If you grow up in place that they're street vendors. I cannot remember the last time I saw a guy roasting chestnuts. With a street cart. They have those aluminum carts, the steel carts, and then it's got like a round pan that's foil lined, and the charcoal, and they're roasting. I mean, literally, roasting.
That's where my dad grew up in New York. And one of the snacks at night, I would take the chestnuts that had been soaked, and split, put a slice in them.
You put an X on the top.
Right, and then we put them in the oven and roast them, and that would be, then you'd take them out when you peel them and you'd eat them, and that was your snack at night sometimes. The chestnuts. I love the chestnuts. And when you put the chestnuts, they were peeled and put in the stuffing, ain't nothing better than the chestnuts.
I usually put walnuts in with stuffing, but I did see bags of chestnuts at the store the other day. Maybe for the first time I'll play around with.
And they sell them already roasted in the bags, where you don't have to go through the process of roast them, cleaning them, and then cutting them up, putting them in the stuffing when it's cooking. But they sell them already roasted and cleaned, no shell. So,
like a little
days where they're already stuffed, shelled, and then where they're not. But Dad grew up in New York. When you mentioned New York, I think that's where Dad got initiated and introduced to the stuff, to the chestnuts. Love the chestnuts.
Well, you used to, when you come out of Madison Square Garden for a hockey or a basketball game, and maybe even the fall, and there'd be the guys with the pretzel. Get a bag of chestnuts. And then the guy on the Lansdowne Street going to the Red Sox game. There was the peanut vendor that had the flat wagon with the roaster. I mean, this is the perfect time to discuss this because I'm 64 years old today, and I guess I'm relating some things that don't exist anymore. Tony, his career was seemingly winding down. Last agent, they had a little bit of success right at the end of Monmouth. Your Bobby Esser memories?
Yeah, Bobby Esser, he was, I started riding in 70. He had ended up his career in 74, but he came to Liberty Bell and some of the tracks in Jersey and, Monmouth, like you just said. But I never get one day at Liberty Bell. And, the older riders and everything, like I can remember Graham, that era of riders from my uncles, Chambliss and Brooks and those guys. Like I said, they wouldn't always sugarcoat everything, but they would walk up to you and say, hey, what are you doing that for? Or why don't you do this? Or I saw you doing this a couple of times, it's stupid, But I'll never forget one day he walked up to me and says, what's the deal with winning races? I know she's winning by a bunch of lengths, but why don't you make her switch to a right lead? Why are you letting her finish on her left lead? That's a bad habit. It's stupid. Let's just win easy. What's the difference if she changes leads? And he says, I didn't say that to him, but that's what I'm thinking. You never talk back to these guys, because they were willing to teach you, even if you were just a dumb kid or a kid that was really. I says, well, she's winning easy. And got her coming down the stretch on her left lead and not switching over to her right lead, her fresh lead, where she can maybe feel fresh and accelerate if you need her to accelerate. He says, horses learn through repetition. They learn through constantly showing them something what to do. And all you're showing her is you can finish on your left lead and you never have to change. One day she'll have to change because she needs to you let them finish on a lead just because they're winning easy. That's what they'll do when they ain't winning easy or they ain't winning, and you needed them to switch to the fresh lead, the right lead. Especially like if a horse leaves the gate on its left lead and you let them run around the turn all the way up the stretch from one lead. It's not the right thing to do. If they leave the gate on their right lead, they switch to their left lead in the turns, and when they come down the stretch on their left, they can run straight on either lead. It doesn't. When you come down the stretch, you want them to switch to the fresh lead, the one that they haven't been running on around the turn, and that's the right lead. And maybe they don't need it on the day that they're winning easy, but someday they'll come down the stretch and they'll be in that habit of not switching, and they won't switch, and somebody will run past you. And if they were to switch, they might have enough energy to continue forward and win. So we had to. I used to look, sticks in those days. They could be as long as they wanted them, He had the shortest stick. It couldn't have been. If the sticks were 32 inches, which they are now, I think. It was 24 back then.
That's what John said. John brought that up. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear that. Yeah. And I used to look at that and say, how that? And it was stiff as a board. I mean, it was. Been able to listen, you said it.
Yeah, the stream. Yeah, we're working on the better the stream to our.
And I didn't continue the car I got from Sirius, and I didn't continue on this new car. I got subscribed to it, so I couldn't even go out in the car and listen there. But he had the shortest stick, that covers on it, everything, and the one. He'd use it, and they would respond type rider. And, one thing about it, these older riders, at that time, the weights were little lighter than what they are now. And he wasn't a small guy, he must be a solid guy, not so terribly tall, but taller than me. Everybody's taller than me. He would hit the box, and I never forget. He would go after he hit the box. He'd come out. He'd tell the masseur, and I used to laugh anyway. He'd tell him, he'd say, Frank, my shoulder's killing me, Frank. I don't even my shoulder today is killing me. And I'm thinking, I used to laugh because he'd always tell him Frank his shoulder was really sore, I'm thinking, well, the other stuff that was that short and that stuff. He was, and then Frank would do Masseur was the kind of guy he wasn't going to say. He kept his weight. And then the riders kept their weight. I said various ways, but they had to be heavers. They were just heavers, and that was just a part of the way they I don't think it's a big secret that he's but when you watch these guys, he won my so yeah, they can eat like that. And they could eat a pot of chili, the whole pot. So they would eat and then they would just unload it. It might be 8-10 pounds of food they unload in between a race and the next race. Amazing guy with great riders, and he was an example of a world-class quality rider. I never forget, he won a couple of derbies. I think Todd because of the Peter Beauty Holiday. And you that, which really now was out of Cardell. Yep. And Dr. Hardhill, he was a world-class vet. And he was a Derby vet. Dr. Derby. Dr. Derby, yeah, the Derby vet. And in fact, I still maintain contact with his daughter, Alexis. Sure. Let's go. I remember writing for Vandenberg, and Vandenberg would always have Dr. Hardhill, working with his horses. Not that Jack couldn't do anything with him himself. I didn't hear that. But it was a unique time, and guys like us who, they won derbies, they won, Preakness, they won an array of next year in my mind. And one thing I told you, don't teach horses to do the wrong thing. Make them change leads. What are you doing letting him come down his stretch on his left lead? Make them change.
There we go. You taught, we taught you something that stayed with you the rest of your career. The one thing that we've talked about, in fact, was reaching for Mig too, because something we talked about.
You know what? On top of the crown of the track too, you go to the crown and then you come down off the crown. It would be running downhill through the lane if you could. But also, even further out, you would see on floated racetracks or tracks that were just opened up that were harrowed, and a lot of times the outside wouldn't be harrowed. It had been floated, and he'd take them out to the floated hard section of the track. That was us, Zeila, and he was well known for that. And to this day and age, you don't see anybody doing that. I don't know why, but he surely left his mark on racing. Between us, Zeila, the short stick, and some of the things that he did on a horse's back, and some of the things he did on the horse's back, left his mark on racing.
I had of him for the 60s. He had a great look, and he as John explained too, just an upbeat personality, and he had a much more typical career in terms of timing. Back then, that was a fairly typical career, 20 years, 23 years.
Yes. 35, he started riding so the really point in 35, right?
Yeah.
So 16, and he rode right up to 73 or 74, so 23 years. And that was pretty typical in those days, 18 to 20 some years. My uncle rode 19 years, won 2,300 races. So he rode till 74, won 3,611, 130.
Stevens and it's Perry, the way Perry Roots, and there's so many guys who've gotten very used to guys riding into their 40s and 50s, 60s.
Yeah, it's amazing. But he was a world-class rider, and he was the kind of guy that, like that era rider said, if you wanted to learn, you watched and you asked questions. About what you're doing or what you can do. Bonita's, Graham Blum, Chris Rogers, Bobby Essery, Steve Brooks, guys like that. They were willing to teach you if you were willing to shut up and learn. And that was it. Shut up and learn.
88, Bobby Essery, and appreciate John and Tony being able to outlived all his contemporaries.
In Florida for a Directors Guild meeting, and Bobby was still interested, and there was a wealth of information when it came to a rider and a racetrack experience, and he maintained contact with the guild and was still involved with the guild. This was many years ago, and I remember seeing him, and after the guild meeting, we went to a place in Hollywood. couple of I would talk to. Is that McGowan's in Florida?
That's
someplace.
somebody that's
They're near Florida.
you're not good. I can't tell you that one. That one doesn't ring a bell, but that doesn't mean I'm not there enough.
Yeah, McGowan's was the name of the place. I thought about it, and that's where we went and ate, and he was there, and he was just a neat guy to talk to and had a an answer, and if you didn't like the answer, he was
Tony, we got a couple of mornings here yet Thanksgiving, and appreciate it as always. Best for the family, and hope it's a fabulous Thanksgiving. That's one of our favorites.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites too, and I mean, chestnuts, you
Now everybody when they have a chestnut, that's all they're going to do. You're an old chestnut yourself. There you go.
Chestnut is just fine. You call me cool. Kind of nut you want. Chestnut's just fine.
Tony, I appreciate it, buddy. I'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
You take care. Have a great Thanksgiving. Say hi to Tina for me, and
to Bobby. Sorry, going to head to the break, and I better pull it together because it's my it's my responsibility today. So I better be prepared for this, right? So let me. Trying to catch on a few other of these potential visits here later on. John White in hour 3, and Mark Cassie is going to join us next. One story that I just again, that was kind of underreported, to say the least. The exoneration, essentially, of McLean Hendricks and Kerry Bryant. The HISA press release that essentially the suspensions that they had leveled. And I'm just digging here because I know I printed the story out. I saw the press release and quickly the other day sent a note to both of them, and the day before. And you could also tell plenty of nerve. McLean Hendricks, and McLean wasn't necessarily, isn't necessarily going to go on with his training career as it happens, but at the same time, this was humiliating. And it's a shoot first, ask questions later mentality. And then then comes the press release. Subsequently, we went through these machinations, and the rendered moot. Way to run a railroad. I'm sorry, and we've said this now repeatedly. And with every misfire, for those that haven't been following closely or don't necessarily have a tie, McLean was in the midst of. We lost the chance at a racing industry related employment. We're just not. It's not responsible. It's not a responsible way to handle this business. And I'm sorry for those, mentality. The greater good will be served on. No. That's not the way. That's not the way due process works, and particularly under these kinds of circumstances, where someone's reputation is going to be instantly, under. And then, they're not going to revise their conclusion. Their minds are made up, and that's that. It's completely unfair. The whole concept of fair play doesn't seem to enter into this. So I'm sorry. This is not the way to handle. offered Carrie, and if she wanted to come back, and she had a nice note out there that you may have seen. Let me, it's fine. Rather than take the break here, let me get the visit in with Mark Cassie, because this I think will actually take a little bit of time. Mark to have plenty of Mark Cassie joining us. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Steve.
I had a message from Norman was on earlier.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. He was pounding his chest a little bit.
He was?
Oh yeah. So,
he's just, I'm proud of him. He's doing tremendous.
You said you can't seem to beat it.
Saturday.
Which race?
The race prior, Strong Quality won by 10 lengths and beat him. He ran second.
All right. Okay.
Did you forget that already?
Yes, he did. I guess he did.
I got to tell you a funny story real quick about Norman. It goes back probably 10 or 15 years ago. We had two horses in the bluegrass, and he told something like that. We did. We ran one too. Like last and next one.
Right? You're right about that kind of thing. Gary gave me grief one time. A race came off the turf, and I think it got down to 5 horses. I said, "Wow, listen, we should." So you just kill fifth.
One time, it goes back a long time ago, and this goes back because InSweep was up for being the leading freshman sire, and we were getting towards the end of the year, and Patrick Husbands was riding a horse for me, and I said, all you got to do is not fall off, and this horse is going to be gone to the lead. swear to you, he was hanging. I got back on the plane and actually won the race. Oh, wow. I was like, I'm never saying that again.
No, that's...
No, I can tell you lots of stories, but anyway.
Oh, there's a million ways to lose, or to do something that you regret. We'll probably talk about some horses, because I haven't talked to you, but Leaders Cup. When I came back, one of the things was the conversation you and I had in that parking lot behind the clubhouse, and you showing me that system that feels like it's something that more people need to know about, especially under the circumstances that we're facing right now in terms of increased scrutiny. And how do you utilize it?
Well, I first heard about it from Chester Weber, Charlotte Weber's son. He asked me, he said he had some people coming into town. They have been using it on, he uses it on his driving horses. They use it a lot in, So Steve, I'm like, if you stand still, you get run over. So I'm always trying to do things better. Let me go back about 5 or 6 years ago. 5 or 6 years ago, I had a horse. I can't think of his name right this second, but he broke his leg at Saratoga on the turf. That day. And if you he would have probably been like 10th on my list, with sound and whatever. But I was pretty distraught after. You always are, when you lose a horse, it's like, it's losing part of the family. And I went to Dr. Scott Palmer and I said, how can we be better? And he goes, Mark, I know you guys, we jog our horses every day. They call it a lameness. Is you put a sensor on their head, you put a sensor on their, I think, left front and right, and then one on their hind ankle, and then you jog them, and it sees like 18 times greater than the human eye, and it can also pick up soundness on unsoundness on more than one limb at a time. So I got for years. We liked it, but it wasn't easy, and that had to do it. So now comes Chester Weber, and he shows me this, and this is a similar deal, but it was done. It's done just with a video. You video your horse jogging for about 60 seconds, back and forth, and then on the app, minutes, you get a report back. And it will show you where they're off. It will show you whether it's on impact or lift, kind of when they lift off, up or down. And it can show you more than one leg at a time. So we started using it. Maybe we started doing it for 1,000 times, and all my assistants have it. My vet, I have two. Dr. McMartin, who is my main guy, Dr. Robert McMartin, who's been a vet for almost 50 years. He uses it. Dr. Allison Foyle, my vet here, and Ocala uses it. today, David do a VLL on them, and it to me, and we'll look at it and compare. Yesterday, interesting enough, we ran a first-time starter called Counts, who won like the 6th race or something at Churchill yesterday. We had history of her for and every one of her VLLs, but not significantly, just some. And yesterday morning, when the commission vets came to look at her, they said, well, she is a little off behind. And David Carroll said, look, she's always like this, and but she'll warm up out of it. And they let us run her, and she won. So, something to good horses. One, Steve, hardly any horse is perfect. They all have a little something, a little this or that, but it also gives you numbers, and it tells you how significant they are off. And if we run one and there's a big change, then we start blocking and trying to feel. A few months back, we had a horse at Ellis Park that wasn't 100%. We were worried about it, and we ran a VLL on him, and it came back. She was significantly off behind it, and we scratched her. So I like it. You know what I like it about? I think once you learn how to use it, it takes out the human. Now we deal with a lot of everybody has a different opinion. This has it has an opinion, but it's based purely on science.
And explain, I'm putting out a link for those that didn't get the spelling and the name the first time. Sleep, SLEIP, and their Twitter name address is Sleep. .com is their website. Markerless lameness diagnostics on your phone, and you showed me this, and you basically you send a video of them on the walk or on the light jog.
On a jog in a straight line, and the good thing is if it doesn't get a good reading, Steve, it'll come back and say not enough information, and so then you have to do it again.
When Mark gets back, what you get back out of this is basically a confirmation schematic, and red and green for
different colors, and then you can actually even diagnose it. If you go below it, it'll actually show you the number. So anything below 1, you can't. Things if we see something, we pinpoint the area, the limb, and then we try to pinpoint it by we go and we numb it and see whether whether it makes some sound or not. And so we found that anything below 1, so it might come back 0.4. So that's not even. Has a little bit of something, but it doesn't mean it's significant. And so that's the thing we have to do. I would love to see him use it on post claims. and say, look, if you show up higher than this number, then it's a return. If it isn't, then it use it at, but it sure would. Got one, you might have Florida may have one opinion, Kentucky may have another opinion, California may be a different. That's the frustrating part is, you know, it's all about that's looking. And that's the same way. And look, I've been a big advocate of our as others. You also have to remember now, we are running with almost no medication, where, you know, 2 or 3 years ago, or not even 6 months ago, these horses would be medicated, so they might look a little better pre-race. So they're, you know,
Thank you.
You're a couple years older than me, but what brings me to that 64.
Now I really feel like a failure. Thanks for telling me that.
We don't. I don't know about you, but when I get out of bed in the morning and move, I don't move quite as good. But I do. The good news is I do warm up.
I just sent out the links. Is how little awareness
Stock in it.
there you go. To me, this is, I'm happy to do this. We do this with Dave Hill, with Unabated. I mean, they're just a good data-based service. I'm happy I'm happy for people to benefit when it's something, you know, that people can use to their advantage. And in this case, this is motion sensors, but this is obviously doing it in a different manner that they can from afar, essentially. Somehow they've got a diagnostic from the imagery that is seeing how horses hit, and it's shocking, actually, Mark, that you were stunned that you made it fall.
It's like it's $350 a month for the app, and it doesn't matter how you can do as many.
You can send in as many as you need.
Yeah, you can send as many as you want.
Unbelievable.
I think at 350, there's 5 different apps for 5 different users. So, you know, somebody. Respect for Dr. Robert McMartin, and those that don't know who he is, but he was 40 years with Samson. He was their everyday vet. He was a surgeon at Woodbine. He had his own surgery. He actually saved Smart Strike's life. Smart Strike broke down on the racetrack at Woodbine, and they his passion. He's worked for me now for 18 years. To me, I always say I want to have somebody around me that's smarter and knows more and has done more. He's my guy. He's the guy that I go to, and he believes in it. Because he does a lot of diagnostics for me. And he goes all over the country for me in 2 countries. And when he endorsed it, you know, for me, even stronger.
Can you give an example of you mentioned the one horse that doesn't move, doesn't move in a pretty fashion. But I mean, undoubtedly, there's been horses that came back were leading. From Dr. Aldo in his visits, when a horse exhibits in one limb, typically the opposite limb on the other side in the front or back is where the problem is.
Yeah, diagonal. Yeah, it can be. This will actually tell you, too. It can tell you more than one limb at a time. And what we do is we'll use secretary day, and he looks fine. One day I'm not real happy with him, and we do the VLL, and secretary comes back, and he shows a slight lameness to his right hind. Well, we would then go and we would try to pinpoint what part of the right hind was bothering him, and we would do that by once if we find something, then we x-ray it or we ultrasound. We go, now, there's a shot that there isn't really anything wrong with Secretariat. He maybe is just going to move that way for the rest of his life. So we don't find anything through our stuff, so now I feel more comfortable. We go on and going good. We do a little more today. So we breathing 3/8 of a mile. And Secretary looks good. The next day, I run the VLL on him. And guess what? Through that little bit of work, it hasn't caused any more aggravation to that right hind. We're looking at the numbers and we're like, okay, that's good. So guess what? We go another. Secretary is doing no, we haven't aggravated it. So now let's go 6 weeks down the road and we're ready to run, right? And the commission has to come in and say, hey, this horse isn't 100% right behind. And we're saying, no, never has been, never will be. I show them the numbers week after week. And after this horse is actually run. I have a really good horse they train right now. It has never been perfect behind. But we always are monitoring those numbers, and unless we see a difference, if we see a difference, then we explore that much greater. And so that's the way this can be used. It's the way I use it.
And it's a diagnostic system, a program that you subscribe to, and you can send as many videos into their system, and it spits it right back at you with a diagnosis of where your horse may be off, and the severity the potential severity of how far they're off. To me, this until 2 weeks ago. Under these conditions that we're all operating right now, that this is not common knowledge, or that there isn't other, domestic offers. I know there's those, the ones with the appliques you put on the horse, the motion detectors that we've been hearing about. But this seems like a month. It's worth every penny.
I can tell you it was about 7 or 8 months ago, longer, we were looking at a horse to buy, and we ran it on them, and it came back that the horse was off. And we vetted it, we x-rayed everything, and everything was clean. But I killed the deal. I said, there's obviously something there. Dr. The horse ran and actually won, and then it was for sale again. And it was, the horse was brought to me, and I said, no, I don't feel comfortable buying that horse. Something is bothering that horse. And somebody bought it, and yes, about 2 weeks later, it got hurt, and it's been out of action since. So
subscription. I'm just, this is the first time I've gone to the website actually, because I kept misspelling it a few times.
And you know what? See, I'm not saying, some people would look at it and say, oh, well, you're supposed to, as a horseman, you're supposed to be able to pinpoint in that, and that's true. We do see it, but this is so bad. The better to say, I use this and I like it and I believe in it, and I feel that it makes my team better, and that's the most important part to me. I feel like we're doing a better job of protecting our kids. When one of them gets hurt, it's extremely difficult on everybody, from the groom, the hot walker, the exercise rider, they're pets.
And from the owner standpoint too, they're an investment, and
exactly.
And I'm just looking to tell you, there's a testimonial drop down, and there's no racing testimonials. All the testimonials are coming. Not that we're not spending and not spending the same kind of money, but the amount of money that goes into the international equestrian scene is scary. And there's some glowing comments here. Here's a vet from the Irish equestrian national team. Those that live in fear of tech replacing vets are missing the point. This is a tool to make. That
couldn't say it.
That's what you've been
I don't even know. I don't. Maybe there are other people using it. Chambliss trainers in the U.S. I don't know. I just.
Well, there will be within a couple of weeks. Yes, and that's why I wanted to make sure people can. It says you can book a demo. You can, It's too important at least be exposed to it. That was my motivation. All right, good for you. Let's also take a minute. I haven't mentioned it yet, we don't know how good he might be long term, but we were delighted at 44-1 by Cabernado's debut on Saturday. Because I am that horse. I sent along some pronunciation guide actually too, because I didn't want John. I heard John during the post parade, and I quickly gave him a little tweak on. I said it's dough instead of do. I'm was tickled as could be, because you would have maybe almost 3 months ago, that he might just a horse, but he looks like he's got a little bit to offer.
Yeah, I have to tell you, he's been with David Carroll in Kentucky, and this first month or so David had him, he was like, I don't know, it doesn't seem like, but David's really liked this horse lately, and expecting him good. He looks like he wants a little more round. And interesting enough, in the roadshow seemed to kind of like the turf.
That's Colin speaking.
Right, exactly.
What was interesting for those who didn't see that race, and this was the 6th of Fairgrounds on Saturday, and he was running, I thought, very greenly, and then all of a sudden, at the 8th pole,
he remembered that he was.
he knew that there was a benet. There was a bag of beignets at the end of the tunnel. If he finished the interest, I tell you, he was getting, and it was only 5.5, and he was getting to that leader. It was terrific. And since we're doing this, let me get a couple of other hits in, because logistics. No. What I am curious about. Tell me about Nieves. This Manny Nieves.
You know what? I really don't. I'll be honest. David, we had Corey Landry, but Corey's RAE drew in, and David picked him, and I didn't know a whole lot about him, but after the race, I said to John Green and never gave up, saved ground. Yeah. 5 votes. We're going to ride him again.
How about this? How about the first time starter yesterday, Joe Pounce? They're looking at
that was Pounce. She was good. Pounce was interesting. Pounce was an RNA at the sale, and I did a deal with and took half of it for my wife owns house with. She was impressive. She's actually shown. We had her over at Turfway, and she really loves the Chapita, but we decided to go for the big pot and give her one start at Churchill, and I'm glad we did.
This is
Gatewood owns her. Gatewood Bell owns part of her.
Quintessential and Half Creek. Yep.
Yeah. Call said Pounce is about to do that or something like that. She was sitting right. I thought he gave her a great call. The other set I was really impressed with this weekend, I guess you didn't see it, was strong quality. I thought strong quality.
Yeah, I did miss that.
On Saturday, well, when you get a shot, you got to watch. I think he ran a 98 by or 1 by. Just about 16 pole. He's a horse that we've always liked. Gary owns him with the Steinbrenners on him as a lean lane, and he's a pretty good horse.
Nice. So you ran a few of those, and not only strong quality. I think Classic Car Wash too ran this weekend.
Yeah, he did. He ran at Del Mar. He was a little disappointed. Back. My main goal is the Malibu. I'm not sure, given his performance the other day, if we'll still try it. But he's a pretty nice horse. Classic Car Wash.
Classic Car Wash, and
the horse the heartbreaker is Ice Shock.
I was going to say, you got Peter Nose.
Yeah, he was.
That beat Flag of Honor.
Yeah, that horse was on the rail the entire time we came around. And I Chocolati Brazilian. He's a really nice horse. Gives it his best all the time.
That's the Brazilian. We've talked about him a few times, and
we have him. We have Philo Della Rhea, and then now we have Raptors, who we had early.
That's right.
Three of those. He's a serious horse.
And you told us about the import, and then we were watching, and
I just we ran out of time. And I have to tell you, both those Brazilians, Philo, and then also Ice Chocolate. It took Ice Chocolate a year to really come around.
It occurs to me, Breeders' Cup, but we haven't talked about the Breeders' Cup. My boy Prince acquitted himself, I thought, very well in the juvenile turf. That was and Can Group at a bigger price. You know, in 3-4 in the juvenile, you have to be satisfied.
Oh yeah, I was very happy. To me on paper, it looked like that my boy Prince would be. For some reason, it sure didn't help us. But our horse ran well. Can Group, we knew he was going to be up against a little bit, trying to close, on the shorter turns and then run down. But I came away from there. I felt all along that my boy Prince was, a really nice horse. I came out of the Breeders' Cup, So both those horses at some point are going to, I just don't know when I'm going to do it. The most disappointing part was I thought we really got a raw deal Go With Gusto, that she didn't get in the Breeders' Cup. Yeah. I didn't understand that one at all. And still don't understand it. So we ended up running in the Qatar mile. I mean, she got a second, so I didn't understand that one. I didn't understand, and I shouldn't, Barbara didn't understand it either. I think we've got to do a little better job with our committees, and I think they need to be more accountable of their actions and what they're doing, at least giving us the reasons for what they're doing. That effect. Tell us why you made the decision. Right?
Well, I mean, when it comes to handing out those slots, particularly for the juvenile turf races, the European interests are going to be kowtowed to a fault.
I mean, look, the we were going to have the World Chambliss post possible.
Right.
I've been to the Breeders' Cup twice with horses that were the favorite for the juvenile and drew the 14 hole, and it's nearly impossible. I think they said something about out of 70 some starters from the 11, 12, 13, 14, no way. But anyways, they were 50 to 1 and we're 15 to 1 now. That's a little strange. And then we went off the favorite in the colt race. So I've questioned in the past. Sometimes when I've had horses that didn't get in, I've questioned, but through it, looked at it and said, well, I understand.
And you had some frustrations on the juvenile split and the big coach.
And that's fine. That's fine. We can do it. But I think that we should hear the reasoning.
So, well, there's a number of that's pretty funny. There's a number of this topic that we could probably broach. Yeah.
You got me good.
That's all right. I'm glad.
I don't want to sound like a crybaby either. I don't want
to.
Like I said, I take my lumps now. I've had lots of them. I felt bad for Gary Barber, not so much for myself. For Gary, you have a filly that deserves to be in there and she doesn't get in, and nobody's accountable for it.
Yeah, well, that's certainly true.
I have a lot of friends.
Saturday, Webb Singer third in that Twilight Derby. I'm anxious to know what's next for him.
He causes his own demise most of the time. He just has no speed, and then he gets shuffled back, and then you got to come flying, and but he ran well. Only horse that, of all the horses I ran, everybody showed up. The only horse that didn't show up was her. This year, so I think you answered that with her.
Are you thinking the Hollywood Derby with Webster?
Yes, we are. Yeah.
Very good.
I left him out in California.
I was going to say, what did you do on that?
We also left Lucky Score, who ran a sneakingly good race in the mile.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he's going to run down the hill in that stake. Towards the end of the year.
Yeah, the open.
Yeah.
Something racing, people say racing doesn't do anything right. Well, they're naming races after people that are alive. That goes a long way to making them feel good. There should be more of that, less memorial.
Well, you're on that subject. There's some really good owners that should be in the Hall of Fame. And they just shouldn't have.
Exactly right.
I mean, actually, our Charlotte Weber, who's done nothing but for 50 years. It's a shame. That's a shame.
No, this is a fair point. We put active trainers and active jockeys in the hall.
Yeah.
Right?
And the owners, I've said it all along, and without bettors, without owners, we would have nothing. Nothing at all. The owners get a raw deal. They do.
Well, I wouldn't argue that point at all. Let me ask you also, I'm glad we're doing this. We caught up on a bunch of things. There was it the Mazzolini? What did you win? Was it the Mazzolini or the Gray?
We won the Mazzolini. And I'm with Tina and Lamb went in a partnership to pinhook some horses, Lane Green, and we bought her.
So what water says it?
It's called Vitz Vada. The W's are V.
Vitz Vada.
Yeah, and you talk about and my wife looks up and she's looking up, because she's out of something Gold Oro or some Oro. So she looks up, and in South Africa, the biggest gold mine or stream or whatever is so she names them that. Turns out We had her and she wins her first start. Well, if anybody knows anything my wife owns or I have anything to do with, we sell. I'm a seller. So we put it in the digital sale. And it was only fitting that Gary Barber bought it. He actually, somebody from Canada, I can't think of his name right now, was the underbidder. She came back. She ran third, I think, first time for Gary, and then she won the Mazarine impressively. I think she's got a really good shot. She's probably going to be champion 2-year-old showing. But she's a nice filly with a good story. But we've been trying to get Robert Galler to get Gary's like, we got to get this name right. But I'm just telling you, it's
part of the problem is Vatters. So it's Vic Vatters Land with an R-A-N-D. Vatters Land.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, that's a funny story there. But that's a nice film. She is. She's
a connect, as you mentioned, out of Carta Delaware, and Lots Humphreys bred this filly. And
yes.
What a bargain this was.
Yeah. Well, she's got a big pedigree.
I'm glad this came to California, but I saw the win, and it's one of those.
Yeah, she ran fast too. She ran like an 85 buyer.
Yeah. Well, she ran faster than the boys.
Yeah. Oh, a second faster. Yeah.
Well, Mark, this was awfully fruitful. Let me just look at, just in case. Let me look ahead here to the week. Tell me about Headlad.
For I haven't even raced yet, to be honest, Steve. I would think he would run well. Yeah.
You got to maybe clearly.
We don't have a whole lot.
No, that's why it is.
Yeah. That's why I can talk to you for an hour on a Monday.
Well, that's all right. This was very valuable. And again, for those that missed part of it, we really got together. IP.com. If you want to look at it on Twitter, they don't have any followers, but SLEIPAI, artificial intelligence, and this looks like AI for good to help, in our case, horses and diagnostics. That was first and foremost today. Mark, I appreciate it.
Okay, you have a great day. Thank you, Steve.
Happy Thanksgiving. This thing, I could not believe it, and I fully expected when I asked him. I said, how much? I fully expected to hear, a fairly exorbitant subscription fee or whatever, $350 a month, let's say. And I said, so when he said 300. Rate. And again, if you missed part of this, you can hear it on the archive later. But you take a video of the horse doing a light jog back and forth, and you send it into their system, and it spits it back, almost within minutes. And how is every regulatory vet could help neuter complaints about the regulatory vets. And for the people that say, well, the vets don't, well, if you've got something like this that is completely independent and basically has no preconceived notions, you out of the equation. Every jurisdiction in the country needs to at least look into this. And believe me, I don't, just like with Dave Hill and unabated, nice week for Dave, by the way, 4-1. And I'm trying to get to Dave for tomorrow for a visit. First of all, regarding Dave, there's obviously the Formula One race. It seems like nobody was happy. All I heard was complaints about from every direction. I mean, there's also a very funny. There's been a very funny realization too. Response in every other sport. The people are constantly saying, the people that are grousing, they're constantly saying, only in racing. Yeah, except that it's not only in racing. It's in every single sport. So, did everybody, Verstappen, I guess he said that what about the experience, that comes along with F1. First of all, and then of course there's the realization that people that watch the race are discovering that Verstappen is the Iriad Ortiz of Formula One. That also came to light this week. I lived in Montreal. From 1991 to 1999. And so that's, now it's 30 years ago. Trust me when I tell you that 30 years ago, Formula One was being marketed the exact same way. That it was this was on display everywhere. It was. I don't want to get in trouble with the Euro trash said, but that's what it is. It's this, it's this traveling party that goes from continent to continent. Is Verstappen just? He suddenly discovered. Listen, like Formula One or any other sport, you can get drawn into any of these activities, at every level. It's fine. And granted, I make fun of certain marketing efforts around our game. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. When I make fun of the Lily Pulitzer Prize, the Lily Pulitzer crowd and the bow tie and the bourbon swirling, it's fine. It's tongue in cheek. Happy to have them. But the thing we should be spending most of our time against is horse players and owners. Marketing. You've heard me discuss this before for years. We should have kits. We should have marketing kits to go to math clubs, high school math clubs, and college. The math. They have those math games. I mean, look at what Marshall Graham does with his course and how popular it is. solving group and club and whatever. People that have that mindset, we should be marketing horseplay to them because they're ideal candidates. So anyway, but there are a few things about the Vegas Formula One experience that I was sort of wide-eyed about. It didn't necessarily help. In fact, there were some people saying that it was keeping people away from restaurants and things. So I don't know. So anyway, we need Dave Hill. We need Dave's observation skills and his experience. I'm anxious to hear. But he also 4-1 and only. And Dave had a rough little patch in the middle part of the season, but I think pendulum swinging back the other way now for the big second half stretch drive. So hopefully we'll talk to Dave Hill tomorrow. We got to get John White in here. Let me get a couple of other. We'll talk about the rest of the. I want to talk about the Delmar stuff too. We'll save that for John. Although I. Buyer figures from the Nisos got a 97 buyer for the Bob Hope winner. That is a serious horse. I mean, he didn't. I don't think he took a deep breath. Very impressive. Chosen Vaughn too. And we'll talk about John with John White momentarily. I also I Tony Black's Bobby Essery stories, and he's got a couple of Bobby Essery stories himself. I did caution Chuck that I didn't think they necessarily. I don't think these stories are going to make the airwaves. And here's one about it. Here's a Chicago horseman. I guess that crop of that short stick, as has been referred to by Pilata and Tony Black, and now by Chuck Balthazar, they basically all three called it a baseball bat. I mean, the thick-handled crop that he used. Pretty crazy. I'll put up. And I did find the picture that I was looking for of us. It's a great from Pimlico. Hi-ho. All right, let me get John White in here because I'm obviously meandering. And we'll spend the last segment with John this morning. I forgot that John sent me this picture of him with a kangaroo when he was at... A couple of the other winners, I've got the Autumn Days that won, that Lady Milagro won on the front end under Louis Rivera. And for our friend Mandy Latterer, Mandy Latterer is as enthusiastic an owner as there is anywhere in the country. She's a real estate agent on Long Island. In Roslyn, and went to school with them. And I don't know how we ever figured that out. But anyway, Lady Milagro, this was really, if you haven't seen her, Mandy's interview with Keisha, Mandy is She's been from bleeding, and when she absolutely loves her horses, whether they're a snake winner like this or, just, rank and file meat and potato horses. She was with Gary for many years in the Siaka barn, and got to know her there, and she's been with Carlos Martin for these last, 6, 7, 8 years. Congratulations. And when we were there, I think I saw it was his first stake win in New York, I think. Well, I think he's won other stakes. We got some other results too to get through. Spirit Prince broke the maiden, right, in the Central Park for Clement with Rosario. And I got this far. John White, I think, is there. John, good morning. Just about to mention Integration, who, I don't know, I thought softish turf maybe, or maybe a little vulnerable, and he was not vulnerable. He was spectacular, and this is an exciting horse for sure moving forward. Kendrick Carmouche, the beneficiary, I mentioned Nothing Better for George Duarte, defends the turf sprint. Joe works for me with Bobby Longlegs. What I read wins the Notebook, the Tepin. How about the Motion and Manny Franco? Memorialized the Caracantai. Very nice performance in the Tepin the other day. And Chili Flag for Chad, the Forever Together, the last turf stake of the season yesterday. Will be lots next weekend too. When we get to the Nyla Mile, the Cigar Mile. John, good morning.
Well, I'm so disappointed that the Cigar Mile has been downgraded to a 2. I'm disappointed that Clark's a 2. I mean, some of these races just have real historical context to them, so that disappoints me. But you mentioned Integration, and I'm in the midst as the commissioner of my horse race. League runs from Thanksgiving through the Breeders' Cup. Wida Barrio, Nisus, who got a 97 buyer yesterday. Locked was the 4th pick. I had the 5th pick, and I took Nash. Followed by First Mission and West Sunset. Lillian at Integration was the 9th pick, or the first pick in the 2nd round of my draft. First 14. So it reminds me of and especially second one. One of my, I guess it'd have to be my least fond Thanksgiving was when I was working at Keystone, which of course is now Parks. And I sent you, I had texted you a copy of the first part of a column I wrote, because I spent 43 years ago on Thanksgiving TV Alliance. He was trained by Harvey Demir, and a trainer by the name of C.R. Bob Robbins was handling the horse for Demir at Keystone. And I also had a tidbit in my column, an update on a very familiar horse of Tony Black, and that was of course, Tony, an update where she had drove 5 furlongs in a minute and 2/5 on Wednesday. Got a quote from the trainer, Mary Weeks, who was saying that she was doing good, and a lot of people thought something was wrong with her in her last race when she finished 5th in the first light handicap. But Evans went on to say the wind that day was 55 miles per hour, and she had to carry 126 pounds. I think the
for the forensic. So that was during my time at Keystone, but on Thanksgiving Day, Mike Mercer, who was the publicity director at that time, invited me over to his house for Thanksgiving dinner because he says, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, no, I don't have any plans. I mean, I've only been there a week." And it was very nice of Mike to invite me over, but I didn't want to impose on his family on a holiday. So I said, I Bill Fadati, who got me a room to rent across the river in New Jersey, and I was staying with his grandmother. And on all the way to his grandmother's house, I couldn't find even a McDonald's open. I couldn't find one place to get any kind of food. And
Ponzio's should have been open.
Well, I didn't know either. So. And I had 2 donuts and some turkey noodle soup. And so the next day I go back to Keystone, and Mike Mercer says, "So what did you do for dinner?" And I said, "I went to Dunkin' Donuts." He said, "You're coming over for Christmas," and I'm not taking no for an answer. And I did spend Christmas at Mike Mercer's house there in Philadelphia. But so that was, and by the way, the winner of that I covered, a horse by the name of TD Commercial. His name was he was by TD Commercial. Well, TD Commercial finished 4th in the 1968 Kentucky Derby that was won by Dancer's Image and Bobby Ussery, who, of course, you've been talking about all day with the late great rider having passed away. And, of course, TD Commercial got moved up to 3rd through the disqualification of Dancer's Image. Turkey noodle soup and pizza, talking and then sailing there.
And you're making me think of a similar. I'm trying to think if I've got this right. I think I do actually. Now that I'm chewing on it, I got transferred to Cincinnati when I was working. After I got out of school, interestingly, the office was in the Time Life building on 6th Avenue, and the catty corner from Radio City. And we spent several months training. This is the famed textile firm, and they hired me out of Colgate. And the first assignment I got was to Cincinnati, and I was going to call the western edge of Virginia into Kentucky and Ohio and Indiana. So I was going to call on places like, for those that remember, L.D. Bierman and Danner's 3D and Indy, Gold Circle up in Columbus, and Hart's Big line, which the other person in the region in Cincy called on. But anyway, I rented an apartment. They sent me in. I rented an apartment in Mount Adams in an apartment house called The Shadows, and I lined up stuff for the movers to bring. And I moved. Not only was it Thanksgiving week, it was also my birthday, because my birthday can be Thanksgiving week. So I get the keys to the apartment, and now I'm waiting for the moving van. And the moving van was supposed to be there, I think, on my birthday, or maybe even the 19th. This is 1982. They don't show up on my birthday. They don't show up on the 19th, the 20th, the 21st. no cell phones. So if there's no machine. I've got no bed, I've got no chairs, I've got nothing. I'm in an empty apartment for 5 days. And I could go out like one in the morning to go get something to eat. I was Thanksgiving alone in this empty apartment, and finally on Friday after Thanksgiving they showed up with the furniture and everything. It was about as miserable a holiday week as anybody could possibly have had.
Well, I'll tell you the luckiest Thanksgiving I had, and this is racing related too. Sad one there in 1982. Doing basically what Steve Anderson does today with Mike Martin. We were columnists and reporters, and so they raced on Thanksgiving with an 11 o'clock post, and everybody's diving into the kitchen because they had turkey dinner, a turkey lunch, and I knew. So I didn't want to get stuck with this. Day, Friday, I show up at Hollywood Park, and the publicity director, Jim Peden, comes practically running up to me, and he says, "How do you feel?" I said, "Well, pretty good. Why do you ask?" And he says, "Oh, didn't you eat any of that turkey that you had yesterday?" I said, "No." "Well, you're very lucky," he says, "because the entire press box is sick from that turkey." So I was always thinking a nice turkey dinner for me to avoid this horrible food poisoning. Everybody up and down that press box line just came in. Either if they made it into work, even they were moaning and groaning.
Oh, that's funny.
You talk about dodging a bullet. I felt like I dodged a bullet big time on that occasion.
That's hysterical. I love that. I've never heard that, Sean. That's a good story. Yeah. Got about 13 minutes weekend you might have been impressed with, and it's hard not to start with yesterday's Bob Hope. Somebody wrote to me that this was like a paid workout. Nisos.
Boy, well, like I say, he just went as the number 3 pick in my draft. Brad Free had the number 3 pick, and I knew he wasn't going to get past Brad Free. I had the number 5 pick. I knew you. By the way, he wrote the recap. He's first or second, which it was Fierceness and White Barrio. I knew Brad was going to snap up Nisos, and understandably so. That was just a breathtaking performance, and so was his maiden win. He was the most lightly regarded of 3 Baffert first-time starters in his debut race, even though I made him the 3-1 borderline favorite in that race, and I'm proud that I made him the favorite over 2 other Bafferts. Quigley asked a question, and it was a great question to ask. Any horses you've seen clocking that have impressed you? He said, yeah, there's a horse Bob Baffert has called Nisos. And he says he's like one of the fastest horses I've seen. And that was enough for me, and that carried the day, even though nobody was picking Nisos in his debut, and he wasn't getting that much buzz, but I have enough respect to make more highly regarded in terms of breathtaking that day. And that was a strong maiden race. It was one of the stronger maiden races we've had on the Southern California circuit this year. And he just turned it into a lapper. And this race yesterday, look, that horse that finished second to him is not chopped liver, and he made him look like chopped liver. And on top of everything else, Steve, the gallop out, and I mean, some people don't put much
I think, to consider by the time he reached the clubhouse turn. And boy, and the big thing about his win yesterday, in his debut, he showed sharp early speed. He wasn't ranked about it or a runoff, but he was very fast early in that maiden win. And in this race, Bapper took the blinkers off, which is very interesting because for many years, Stewart actually got that. He lobbied for that, and he finally won to where it could be done, because it was never allowed, ever. And because the stewards were afraid that it would just look bad to the public. In other words, if Nicelos had run fifth, or fourth yesterday, or third, or something like that, with taking the blinkers off when he had romped in his debut, that doesn't look at the steward. In this case, what Bapper was looking for was trying to get this horse to show that he could relax off the lead. And for Pratt, he did so. Kyle Stray was on him for the debut. And for Pratt, he sat beautifully just off the pace. And when, I'm not big on this expression, but it kind of fits here. When he pushed the button, I mean, the response was just... I sent away on the gallop out, and this is a horse that has every right to be a very serious horse. When you think about, and boy, Nyquist is really, he is, people have been talking about Justify, and justifiably so, but boy, I'm telling you, this Nyquist is not exactly chopped liver, considering what he's been throwing lately, and this one, $1,000 talk about for sure is the chosen Bob, because there was such a worry about him coming back in 2 weeks. I personally wasn't worried because I trust the trainer here again, Eric Krujak, who said he's never in his entire training career run the horse back this fast in 2 weeks. But every sign was there to Krujak. That was good enough for me. And a lot of times these horses, they run back well. Who came back in just 6 days. So I personally like it when they come back fast, as long as I know the connections know what they're doing. And certainly with Kojak, look at the way he has managed this horse's career. And he's just such a marvelous horse. And look, he ran this race, I think, in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. He's just ran the same league as the winner, who, is... names, and Gimlink's not, he's certainly top drawer too, so he just bit off more than he could chew, but he did the best of the Californians, and we had a good group of California sprinters this year. So going back to the California bred ranks, to me, this horse stood out, and even though a lot of people thought, he was coming back too fast, or the alley dar of the California bred sprinters, because he keeps running into the chosen Brown and running second to him. And this time he had a tough break out of the gate, stumbling at the start. That kind of ended his race right there, trying to beat the chosen Braun, but he did run well off a layoff to finish second for Mandela. And I'm sure the connections there are hoping that the chosen Braun will go back into the open ranks like these guys.
Nice Del Mar this weekend as we start to look ahead toward the second half of the meet and the big events like the Matriarch and the rest of the Hollywood Turf Festival. In fact, earlier Mark Cassie mentioning, I brought up Reb Sager, who he kept out there and is going to run in the as well.
And he's going to be one of the strong contenders in that race. He ran very well in defeat in the Twilight Derby. He is a very, very good turf horse, and he will be, it's going to be a tough race as it is year in and year out. That Hollywood Derby, it's up tough between the locals and the strong shippers we have. But that Web Swanger, even though he got beat by Seal Team, extremely tough. Cassie.
I'm forgetting John, because I don't think I've got the Delmar. I don't think I've yesterday's. There was a course of Mandelas that impressed, right? Was that? I know it's here. I hate this. I just had. I got too many targets, way too much paper. I do want to mention, just because I'm just seeing it here, Fairgrounds got off to a strong start, it looked like, and we'll catch up on some of that tomorrow. But it just so happens the Thanksgiving Classic, I'm just happened to put that, and I saw that Bobby Ussery and kind of cool. That caught my eye.
Today, their turf course sure looks great. And after all the problems they've had, it looks fantastic.
Well, for those that don't know the timeline of that, it it started where the root system from the hedgerow out of the ground. That when it was hard to figure out what the problem was, it turned out that the hedgerow had basically gone under the grass and was pulling all the water. So that was problem number one. So they redid it, and then you had the salinization issue that killed swatches of the grass. It looks terrific. It looks like they're going to have a I do want to get, we've got a minute and a half or so today at Mahoney Valley. You got that Steel Valley Sprint that goes as the nightcap today, 420, the 6 furlong group, and it's a nice group, including some familiar names like Nautical Star, who should be tough, but Damon's Mound in here for Michelle Lovell. Quite a nice group, uncashed. And named, of course, for the late Shelley White, who broke barriers in every direction. 2-year-old fillies going 6 in here, and this looks like a decent set as well.
And I worked with Cheryl White. She was a racing official, and I worked as a steward in the state of California, so I worked closely with Cheryl. And you were talking about all that. You kind of were making me feel at home.
I love it. Well, John, I appreciate it, and thanks so much. This was fun. Happy Thanksgiving to you and Trace.
And happy Thanksgiving to you and Tina and all of the loyal at the races listener. Hope everybody has a very nice Thanksgiving.
John White, everybody. And that Mahoney. There's also, I think, 3 other stakes. Yeah. The First Lady, the Cardinal, and the Mahoney Distaff. So you got basically an all-state, is it an all-state pick 5? Yeah, and it's a mandatory pay. Starts at $220. There you go. Thanks to Norm Cassie and Mark.
Back with you tomorrow. Appalachians. Sirius XM. Talk to you then. Angels fly, riding down.